My name's Jason Cherniak, and I'm running to be your regional and local councillor in Richmond Hill. I'm committed to you. Thank you, everybody, for joining me here today. First and foremost, I couldn't be here without the support of my wife, Heather, and my kids, Benjamin and Charlie. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you, Vito, for your support. We're going to miss you in Richmond Hill being on council. You have big shoes to fill, and I'm going to do my best to keep them shiny. Dave, I see Dave back there. So you've been mayor for 12 years. I'm sure you're going to be mayor for 16 years at least. Just to be clear, you have my support as well. So thank you very much for coming out and saying that you support me for this role. I really appreciate that. In March, there are many good events that wouldn't happen in Richmond Hill if it weren't for you connecting people and making sure that they happen. You were a great community builder in our town, and I really appreciate you coming on as a mayor. And Reza, thank you for your help and guidance. You've already given me a great deal of good advice since starting, even after a difficult election campaign. I appreciate you coming out and helping me so much. And of course, Janine, thank you for being the MC. I appreciate all the work you've given me despite the business and various activities you're responsible for. And thank you also for the work you're going to give me in the future. So I think Reza's already introduced all the politicians that are in the room. I'm not going to go through the list of them again today. But I do want to particularly thank Stephen Del Duca for coming. I do believe he's going to be the next chair of York Region, and I really appreciate it. There are also other candidates in the room who aren't already elected. Lydia Kafea is here. Thank you for coming. Ward 1. Is there anyone else? Okay. I'm also going to mention David Bishop is a past councillor from Richmond Hill. Thank you for coming. And Leona Alislev sent me a very nice letter of support. I really appreciate her doing that, and unfortunately she's out of town today, but thank you to her as well. I first moved into Richmond Hill over 30 years ago. I went to Crosby Heights, I went to Charles Howitt, and I went to the old Richmond Hill High School. For the last... I went away to university, but when it was time for me to start my law practice, there was no doubt that I was going to start it here in Richmond Hill. This is my home. For the last 10 years, I've built my own business. I've trained articling students to be lawyers, and I've created jobs in the local community. I really have gotten a lot out of it. Many of you in here know that I'm a committed volunteer. You know me from the Rotary Club, or the Board of Trade, or Mackenzie Health Hospital Foundation, or Shadow Path Theatre Productions. I will stay committed to volunteering after the election in October. I believe it's vitally important for everybody to do in town. Law is a good business, and it's rewarding when I help my clients. And some people have asked me, why do you want to give that up to be a politician? Well, I'll tell you something, there's only so much I can do for my clients as a lawyer. When I have a client forced to take possession of a condo in Richmond Hill without a working toilet, I see a problem that only a town councillor can fix. When another client applies to build a patio at a pub, perhaps this very pub, and it takes 2 years to get a building permit from the town, I see a problem that only a town councillor can fix. When another client is applying, trying to build houses that have already been approved in York Region, and it takes a year to negotiate a 10-page legal agreement because the region won't respond for 60 days, I see a problem only a regional councillor can fix. As a lawyer and a business person, I'm committed to using my business experience and my legal knowledge to help fix the problems that stand in the way of our residents and businesses every day. With the Richmond Hill Board of Trade, I've seen the people from Viva Next try very hard to reach out to the business community. They've done a great job, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Now imagine if after we, as the Board of Trade, consulted our members and we gave them advice, they actually changed some of the construction plans. I've seen the town economic development department do a lot of work reaching out to local businesses. It's incredible how much input they take in and how much explaining they do to help us. Now imagine if those conversations were to lead to lower costs, more stable taxes, and even more efficient government. I've seen the town economic development department do a great job reaching out to the local business community and bringing good businesses to Richmond Hill. Now imagine if those corporate headquarters came to Richmond Hill at least as often as they went to Markham and Vaughan. My experience has taught me that a collaborative and constructive approach is the best way to handle negotiations. I want to work with people, I want to work with staff. There are some people running that might not want to think about things that way. I believe in working constructively and engaging, and that's what I intend to do on council. I'm committed to use my problem-solving skills to try to solve some of the problems that bother all of us. Even though we live in a great town, there's always that little thing that bugs us a little bit. I'm going to work to try to make that better. As parents with 2 young children, Heather and I have really enjoyed the new Lake Wilcox Park. It's a great example of wonderful work that's been done in Richmond Hill. We use the splash pad like thousands of other parents and grandparents. It's wonderful. But we asked ourselves, could there be a little bit more parking in the area? I don't know why things have turned out that way, but I'm committed to finding out and trying to do something about it. Heather and I have enjoyed taking our children to swimming and skating lessons. Richmond Hill provides wonderful programs. We've also seen that a lot of the classes fill up almost immediately, and some of them never fill up at all before they've ended. I don't know why things happen that way, but I'm committed to find out and try to do something about it. As a husband and father, I believe that Richmond Hill provides great services to our residents, to young families, and I am committed to continuing those great services. I'm also committed to trying to fix some of the problems that bother people every once in a while. I know we live in one of the safest communities in Canada. I have full confidence in our police and fire departments. Not everyone knows the police are funded by York Region government. I also know that we have the largest police budget in Canada outside of the city of Toronto. And right now the police are asking for more money to deal with legalized marijuana. I don't know enough yet to say whether those funds are required. I'm going to do my due diligence and find out. What I'm committed to do is asking tough questions and ensuring that our tax dollars get spent well. I believe the region might be able to redirect our police resources from things like speed traps into solving car break-ins, preparing for legalized marijuana, and other activities that perhaps are more important to the residents of our community. One issue facing drivers is something that you might not know. When all the construction is done outside here on Yonge Street, there are going to be bus lanes in the middle of the road for the Viva buses, and it's going to be, I believe, a great setup for our community. There are also, though, going to be York Region buses that continue to travel along the right side of the road. And those buses are not going to have a right turn lane to pull into when they stop, because most of the right turn lanes are being removed. So they're going to be stopped at intersections, and during a green light there's going to be a line of traffic behind them. I'm a little worried that the drive might be even worse after construction than it was before, although transit, I'm sure, will be vastly improved. These plans were written half a decade ago. I think it's reasonable to look at them again, figure out whether getting rid of all those right turn lanes still makes sense in light of the current conditions, and I am committed to finding out and doing something about it. I know it isn't easy to amend construction plans like this, but I'm going to try. If staff tell me it's tough, that's not going to be a reason for me to back down. I want to know that it's right, not just that it's hard to do. And you know what else would improve traffic flow? In November, the City of Toronto started a smart traffic signal pilot project. These are traffic signals that can essentially talk to each other, and it helps improve the flow of traffic along major roads. I want to see the same technology in York Region. And of course, everyone in this room, I think, knows that the subway is eventually coming down Yonge Street to Highway 7, and we all support that, I believe, right? We have commitments from both levels of the government, and regional government has done a good job reaching out, particularly in the last year or two. But we can't stop pushing every time we get a little bit of money. To give you an example, Ontario didn't get a greenbelt because environmentalists stopped asking for more. They kept pushing after the Rouge Park was created. When the Oak Ridges Moraine Park was created, they didn't give up. Even once the Greenbelt was formed, you still have people pushing for a federal Rouge Park. We have to take a lesson from that as York Region, and we have to adopt the state strategy with our transportation priorities. We want full funding for the Yonge subway now. We want plans to expand the 404 north of 16th Avenue now. We want a bridge over the railroad tracks on Elgin Mills now. We want the bottleneck where the DVP crosses over the 401 to be fixed now. Now. I know that we're not going to get those things now. But if we don't demand them, then I fear that we're not even going to get them 5 years from now. And these are projects that were needed over a decade ago. We have to raise our voices, we have to be firm, and we have to demand that we get what we need in York Region. This is going to be a key election for Richmond Hill. With Vito and Brenda Hogg retiring, we're losing over 50 years of experience, and we are going to miss it. When you have two openings like this, there's a risk that somebody might get elected who doesn't understand what's great about Richmond Hill. There's a risk that somebody might get elected who has nothing to do other than knock on doors over the summer. There's a risk that somebody might get elected who doesn't have a clue what the region of York does. And there's a risk that somebody might get elected who's going to spend your tax dollars on golf clubs. As I think Marge and Janine were both saying, we live in a town where only a third of people vote in municipal elections. I've been knocking on doors and I know that I'm not the only one. And as I look over to this side, I forgot two people who are in the room that I definitely want to acknowledge before I finish. Richard Rupp, the president of the Federal Liberal Association in Richmond Hill, is here. And Ted Leader, the president of the Federal Conservative Association in Richmond Hill, is here. I believe it is vitally important to reach out to all different political parties and not be partisan in municipal politics. That is something I'm committed to going forward. Let's get back to the speech. I've been knocking on doors and I know I'm not the only one. To win this election, I need your help to knock on as many doors as possible, to send out as many brochures as possible, and to put up as many signs as possible. To do this, I need three things: volunteers, donations, and another lawyer in my office to do the work. I really appreciate all of you coming out here today. Thank you for listening, and to those of you who are already decided, which seems like everybody, thank you for your support. I appreciate it. I am going to ask you for another favor. Please go to the back of the room where the entrance is when you have a moment. Write down your name and let us know if you're willing to, if you have time to volunteer. Are you able to help knock on doors? Are you able to make phone calls? If you have the money, are you able to make a donation? I have to raise $100,000 to run this campaign and succeed in the election. I would really appreciate your support, and if you sign up for that, someone will follow up with you afterwards. If we all work together, I do believe that we can have success in this election and we can ensure that Richmond Hill has a great council going forward, and I can get elected. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.